more fuel and thus emit more GHGs. This, of course, results in escalating costs related to damaged infrastructure, risk to life, additional fuel consumption, traffic congestion, pollution, and sometimes criminality, such as what we are seeing recently, including torching of trucks and resulting in road closures. And some of these roads are important economic arteries. And all the above are not covered in the transportation prices that emanate from transportation of cargo. And neither are these externalities captured in the computation of the country's gross domestic product. Society thus suffers those indirect costs, but not necessarily the parties to the transportation transaction. Program Director, research has shown that externalities apply to all modes of transport. The road transport is said to be the highest polluter due to its overwhelming impacts. There are almost 13 million vehicle population in South Africa and on South African roads, 32% of which are goods vehicles. In environmental terms, it is documented that in 2018, the road transport alone was responsible for 91.2% of South Africa's greenhouse gas emissions. Other modes, such as aviation, maritime and rail, accounted for 5%, 2.2%, and 1.6% respectively. To date, we are informed that the contribution of road transport to the Republic of South Africa's GHG emissions has increased to 95.7% in 2023. Some of the environmental externalities associated with rail transport include solid waste affecting abandoned lines and rolling stock, noise, and the impact of hazardous products transported. While in aviation, these externalities include air pollution, noise, congestion of routes to airports, as well as scrapped aircrafts in a form of solid waste. In the maritime space, ballast water is mentioned as another negative externality. The release of ballast water may introduce non-native bioinvaders, which negatively affect indigenous marine species in a port of discharge. These negative externalities across transport modes are not captured in the transport cost, nor in the GDP of the country or port of discharge. Distinguished delegates, internalization of externalities may best be achieved after establishing the nature and manner by which externalities are produced. There is thus a need to accurately establish the magnitude of the different externalities and accordingly identify the appropriate causes and solutions. Effective policy responses rely on quantification of the different effects due to transport externalities. The vehicular cost to the environment have to be assessed in terms of their local and global impact. Program Director, the National Department of Transport major role is to set up policy and legislation, which in turn must guide the planning and the building of resilient systems to tackle global transport externalities. However, agreeing on policies that will enable internalization of social costs from GHG emission globally is not easy, and it's not an easy task, with differences between the more developed and the less developed countries. Some GHGs emitted by single firms or individual firms have an impact that transcends a single country's borders. Locally, policies and legislations are not mutually exclusive from these set by any other regulating institutions. Policy statement in the Green Transport Strategy concerning measures to reduce air pollution by cars ought to simultaneously be implemented with fiscal policy instruments to address greenhouse gas emissions. For instance, tail end taxes and the reduction of cost of congestion. These include, among others, to internalize externalities costs that society suffers by regulating the market, taxing wrongdoers, or instituting other forms of penalties. As government,